Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to KSR's rapid reaction of Kentucky's 64-48 win over the Miami Hurricanes in the SEC ACC Challenge. As the time of me recording this, Kentucky currently leads 2-0 in the SEC ACC Challenge, so that's always nice. Like I said, 64-48 win for Kentucky. I thought this was a really solid win all around. Again, Miami is a much better team than I think people are going to give them a little bit, credit for. They took number 12 Iowa and number 24 Oklahoma State down to the wire, 3-point losses in both of those games. When you look at a team, they're 5-3 to start the year. You don't think they're great, but they've only lost to good teams, so it's like, okay, maybe this Miami team is pretty decent. Kentucky goes down there, gets a 16-point win, right? Yeah, gets a 16-point win, and like I said, I think they look pretty good doing it. To start the game, this one was really close. It was 16-13 after the first quarter, and then I believe it was 26-23 heading into the half. But a 12-0 run in the third quarter kind of sparked, kind of gave Kentucky the lead for the rest of the game, gave them some breathing room. And again, they looked really good while doing it. Toni Morgan had 20 points. Again, so it's two of her last three games. Toni Morgan has, scored 20 points. Or 20-plus points. And it's so nice to see that. Her assist numbers are a bit down. She only had 4. We're so used to getting her, 8, 9 assists a game. She only had 4 this time. But I thought it was nice to see. She got hers, 20 points, 7 of 14 shooting, 1 of 2 shooting from deep, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. I think you'll take that. And like I said, 4 assists. She had 2 steals as well. I will say, and I thought this was interesting, and I asked Kenny about it, and I think it's pretty funny. I get it, but I just think it's funny. So we're in the post-game press conference, and I'm talking about plus-minus. And by the way, this whole post-game press conference, I guess Miami media doesn't exist, and all of the Kentucky people are focused on Will Stein. So it was just me and Kenny. And I ask him, and I go, how much do you look at plus-minus? Because I was going to do a little two-part question. And he's like, not at all. I think it's the stupidest stat in the world because you're on the floor and you go on a run and all of a sudden you get pluses. And it's just like, okay. But Toni Morgan had a plus-minus of 16. And I guess I get it because you look at someone like Amelia Hassett who had 3 points, 1 of 7 shooting from deep. But she had the highest plus-minus on the team at plus 26. So I guess you can see where, plus-minus is like, it can be flawed sometimes, but she did have 4 assists on the night. That's tied for a team high. Her, Toni, and Clara Strack had 4 assists, so that's always good to see. Speaking of Clara, 13 points. Not the greatest night shooting the ball for her, 6 of 15, and then 1 of 5 from deep. But she had 9 rebounds, 4 of them on the offensive glass. Like I said, 4 assists. But her defense continues to be great. 4 steals, 2 blocks. I thought Clara did a really good job of sort of just being active on the defensive end of the floor. Sometimes, and I think this Kentucky team does a good job of it, but I think sometimes people just get caught kind of standing around and they don't really know what to do. Like sometimes when when it's a close game and you kind of feel not dead, but you're just not fully amped up, it gets kind of easy to just stand around at times. I thought Clara Strack did a really good job of not doing that. I thought she did a really good job of, and I thought this was different, attacking the passing lanes tonight. And that's not to say like she's not good at that, but that's just not something Kentucky does too often. You heard Kenny Brooks talk about how they don't like to necessarily create havoc, like they don't like to get out on the perimeter and steals and everything. Like he even said, we take pride in being dead last in the conference in steals, and it's one of those things where, it's not going to be like that every night. Some nights you're going to need to go get steals. They had 9 of them tonight, which is good. Like I said, Toni had 2. Clara had 2. Tiani Key had 2. She had 11 points and 5 rebounds as well. I liked what she got out of Tiani Key for the most part. But again, you just look at this team, and it's nice to see defensively. They're still like great. You hold Miami to 48 points, which is awesome. But, you can do it. They only blocked 4 shots tonight, and they're averaging a rate about 10 a game. It's good that this Kentucky team, if you're not going to block every single shot okay, you can kind of create a little bit of havoc too if need be. You're still a good defensive team if the block shots that you bank on defensively aren't being blocked, you know. But as a whole, like Kentucky, again, the shooting is just not there. I don't know what it is with this group. In the summer, early in the summer, I should say, you get all these kids on campus, and I don't know if it was like just the excitement of having them here or what, but I talked to people, and they're like, we should be a really good three-point shooting team. I mean, I think even Kenny, I went and watched practice one day. I think Kenny even told me, like, hey, I really like this team's three-point shooting. I think we're going to be pretty good. And then kind of as the summer went on, you get closer to the season, it's September, October, Kenny's tone kind of changes, and he's like, yeah, I don't know how much the three-point shooting will really be there. And I guess that's just like a summer of watching this team, and I mean, so far this season, we kind of seen it, right? Like, Kentucky is not a horrible three-point shooting team, but they're not great. Tonight, they were not very good. Only 25% from deep, 5 of 20. But, again, when you're winning basketball games and you're 9-1, it's kind of hard to complain. I hate to do again, I've talked about it, and I posted about it on social media where I was like, I don't like when people compare the men's and women's team. Okay, I think the men's team is just losing so much now. Maybe we have a little bit of, like, forgiveness in doing that. Because I was going to say, when you're 9-1 and your only loss is to the number 7 team in the country on a neutral court and it was an 8-point game, I think you can forgive yourself a little bit if your three-point shooting isn't the greatest. I think you can forgive yourself when, okay, well, we have a point guard who can get down to the rack. We have one of the best centers in America. We have size. Jordan Obi's great at scoring down low. You know what I mean? Like, you can get around the bad three-point shooting. And then you have the men's team, and Mark Pope's whole thing is we got to make threes, and they're just not. And then you lose games like North Carolina. And it's just nice to see on the, for Kenny, for this team, they can, overcome bad shooting. Again, I think this is a really good win. You beat Miami by 16, and I'm pretty sure both of those games are on neutral courts. Oklahoma State, number 24 team in the country, and Iowa, number 12 team in the country, they lose to those teams by 3. And then they come in here, Kentucky beats Miami on the road by 16. I think that's really impressive. I said it at the time of that Maryland game. I think Maryland, and it's either Maryland or like Michigan, right, with how close they kept it against UConn and how bad they beat Notre Dame. But I think Maryland is the best team in the country outside of that UConn, South Carolina, Texas, LSU. Who am I missing? UCLA group, right? I think Maryland's the best team. Like, your national title contenders, I think Maryland's the best team right below that. And I think Kentucky can be right there too. Kentucky makes a few more shots against Maryland. Maryland doesn't make it, like Kentucky's game against Maryland, that's a few bounces of the basketball, and maybe you win that game. But regardless, I think Kentucky is, can be right there in that tier with Maryland. And if not right there, then maybe a hair below, which is still a top 10 team in the country. So I leave this game very encouraged. I would love to watch Kentucky just start making more shots. It would be nice if you could, shoot 35% from 3, then 25% from 3. But at the end of the day, when you're winning basketball games, I mean, hell, Kentucky is 9-1. And you know what's crazy? I mean, yes, you lost to Maryland, but you have 3 power conference wins already. And let's see, 2 of them were on the road, and then you beat Purdue by 41 at home. And Purdue's not great. Like, Kentucky plays Central Michigan on Sunday. Central Michigan just beat Purdue. Like, Purdue's not good, so they're hardly even a power conference team. But you sit there and you look, and okay, you beat a really good Louisville team on the road. That's exciting. You beat Purdue, like I was just saying. Who the hell's the other team you beat? You lost to Maryland. I totally just lost it. Power conference team. Miami. You beat Miami. I feel like there's one more I'm missing. Kentucky beat Miami, Louisville, Purdue, Okay, never mind. It's just those three. I was missing Miami, the team that they just played and that is in front of my face. But again, like, those are good wins, and you're 9-1, and it's hard to ask for much better. You'd love to be 10-0, but it's hard to ask for much better, okay? Now it's just a matter of taking care of business. Okay, you beat Central Michigan. I think that next game is Belmont on the road. I'm terrified about that game because Belmont, yeah, they've lost to a stinky team, but man, they've kept it close against some really, really good teams. All right? Like, that's a game that kind of scares me a little bit, especially with that one being on the road. All right? Ohio State, Oklahoma, Tennessee, they kept those games close throughout the game. And then they dropped a stinker to I can't even remember who. But like, Belmont's pretty good. But you beat that Belmont team. Okay, you should cruise into SEC play with one loss. I don't know what the record would be off the top of my head, but you're 12-1, 13-1, something like that. And then, I keep saying, okay, you go and play an LSU team who hasn't played anyone yet. They're playing D2 after D2 basically. They could run me and you out there, and it would be just as competitive as a game because LSU's playing absolute nobody right now. Thank God for this SEC ACC challenge, so they'll play somebody with a pulse. You go into that game, and if you win that game, that almost kind of makes up for the Maryland loss in a way. And then now you have some serious momentum. Maybe you can go on a run. But regardless, you got to take it one game at a time, and that starts Sunday. Finally, Kentucky comes back home. It's so nice. I've been covering these games on the road or sitting here at my darn computer watching the games. It'll be nice to actually be there back in person on Sunday. Kentucky plays Central Michigan, the Chippewas. What the hell's a Chippewa? Who knows? The Chippewas at noon on Sunday in historic Memorial Coliseum. Tonight, Kentucky gets a 64-48 win over Miami, the Hurricanes of Florida. They do the whole, the U's down tonight, I guess. U's down, right? I don't even know. Is that something like the Florida fans? Well, actually, Florida will just... So, I don't know. Whatever you do to taunt Miami, we'll just do that for now. I don't know. Kentucky beats Miami 64-48. Again, 9-1 on the year, 2-1 in this event. And, hey, Kenny Brooks got his first win in this event. They lost to LSU at Virginia Tech, and he lost to North Carolina last year here. So, there you go. I'm Phoenix Stevens with KSR's Rapid Reaction of Kentucky's win over Miami. Please, if you're still here, like, comment, subscribe, and do all those wonderful things for us here on the KSR YouTube channel. Since Will Steins got hired and maybe some of the bad basketball losses, the channel's really start to pick up in subscribers. Let's keep that momentum going. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.